As you know, we are talking about goals, content, and sequencing in a language course. Yeah. So now we're going to see the setting up of a sequence. I mean, the sequencing of the content in a course, and what approaches are there. Yeah. Obviously, we've got two approaches, linear and then got modular approach. First, we're going to see the linear approach towards regarding sequencing content in a language course. Okay, let's have a look what means by linear approach and what are its characteristics and some of its limitations. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, the linear approach, lays emphasis on, fitting different units together. Yeah. So if we are talking about the progression, obviously, so we're going to see how one unit fits with the other unit. Yeah. And if, for example, if, for example, the lessons are quite dependent upon each other, for example, if second lesson is much dependent on what has already been taught or learned, so this is called kind of linear development. And if there are, independent lessons, or, they are seeing something separate entity, so that could be a modular approach. Yeah. So let's have a look at some of the characteristics of linear approach. The linear approach actually lays emphasis on, introducing students from simple to frequent concepts, from simple to complex. For example, if you are teaching them comprehension, with the help of reading, so you're going to start with the simple, which is the literal comprehension, and then you're going to train them how to infer understanding of a particular passage later on. So that could be the complex one. Yeah. So, linear approach, although it has its, significance in order to decide about the content and its sequencing, but it suffers from some limitations. So let's look at some of its limitations. For example, if linear approach is taken up in our language course, I mean, if it's too much, if the curriculum planners rely too much upon the linear approach, and if some of the students, happen to miss any of the units or the lessons, so that might affect their overall learning. Yeah. So, and the linear approach also, sort of tends to overlook the significance of learners' styles. Yeah. How, competent learners can gain well from a language course as compared to some less competent learners. Yeah. And the linear approach actually also, has its limitation in terms of recycling materials, because the linear approach, is dependent upon, upon the already introduced items. So in order to, avoid some of its drawbacks, we need to ensure we need to employ recycling materials, which lay emphasis on, learning one material, repeating it, and then reintroducing at the later stages of the progression. So in brief, linear approach is one of the important approaches in sequencing content in a course, and it has its certain features and benefits for language curriculum design, and it has its limitations. So we as language curriculum planners need to be aware of some of its, significance and limitations.